Welcome back. Now, South African prisons are overcrowded by 56%, and a concern is growing over the number of foreign nationals currently taking up space in local jails. Gauteng, Limpopo, Mpumalanga and North West prisons have the highest number of foreign inmates in South Africa, with 14,920 foreigners behind bars across the country as of January 2025. According to Parliament's Portfolio Committee Chair on Correctional Services, Kgomotso Ramolobeng, each inmate in a South African prison costs taxpayers about 500 rand per day. Ramolobeng joins us live now for more. Kgomotso, thank you so much and a very good evening to you, and thank you for joining us. I guess the obvious question, if we can start at, how did we get here?
Good evening, Masa, and good evening to the viewers at home. How did we get here? Look, Correctional Service is an end user to the security cluster. And what do I mean by this is that the Correctional Department has no control on who gets to be sent in facilities. What they do, they need to be accommodated. So in this instance, SAPs will arrest an individual and then open a case, and then the justice system, which is your court system, takes place. And once you are not given bail, then you are authorized to go to a correctional facility. And once you come into a correctional facility, you will be called a remand detainee. Then if you are sentenced, you come and serve your sentence, incarceration in a correctional facility. So this is by order of court. So hence I say the department has no control. So courts will send inmates to facilities and say, this must be incarcerated or this must be remanded up until the cases are concluded, and the department has no control over it. So it can't say, we must have these ones or over these ones. They can't choose. So what court order decides, they need to accommodate. So if you bring an inmate, they must accommodate, make sure that that person has a space and allocation and is able to also get all necessities or requirements that happens when you're incarcerated in a correctional facility.
Do we have an idea as to the number of remand detainees that are in our correctional facilities compared to those who have been convicted and sentenced?
I don't have a specific one, I can get it, but with what I saw, it was around, I think, 50,000 to 55 to 60,000 remand detainees that are not yet sentenced, are still appearing to court, that are sitting in correctional facilities. But that number is yet to be officially confirmed.
Another thing that has been raised as quite a big concern is the number of foreign nationals in our correctional facilities. Those who are documented, are we speaking about people who are documented or undocumented in this instance?
Mostly when we did oversight as the correctional facility, most of foreign nationals that we've came across in facilities are those who are in the country illegally.
So if that's the case and they are here illegally, isn't there a process where they can be extradited to their home countries to serve the sentences there? Because as we mentioned as well, you as the Parliament's portfolio chair have given us the stats here that it costs the taxpayer about 500 rand per day. So we clearly do not have a lot of money for this, for the rising number of inmates, and then to also accommodate undocumented or illegal foreign nationals as well.
The amount spent on an offender per day is around 470 to 480 per offender a day. And I agree, this is a discussion that we've brought as the portfolio committee to say those who are serving sentences or are incarcerated in correctional facilities who are illegal in the country, we must begin discussions and we must bring in the Department of International Relations, the Department of Home Affairs, and the Department of Justice so that it assists us. Because remember, when the court system, when you get to be incarcerated, they say you need to go to a particular correctional facility, which is nearer the court where you are appearing in. So the justice system needs to, on illegal foreigners who would be incarcerated or sentenced, need to assist us and say these are people need to be deported, but not assign them to facilities. So this is a discussion we have brought as the portfolio committee, and which will be one of the key priorities that we're going to pursue this year, so that there is bilaterals between the portfolio committees of international relations, home affairs, and justice. Equally, we also say to the executive, they need to also have those bilaterals with home affairs and international relations and justice to pursue this idea. What we've done as well, we've thrown in this idea to the Department Legal Services and the justice system, since we are not legal persons, to see mitigations of us addressing this matter, and if it is possible in terms of implementation. And if it is, then take it to the department to become one of the implementation process. But this requires an interdepartmental cooperation between the 4 departments that I've mentioned. But as the Portfolio Committee of Correctional Service, we want to pursue this matter. And on a basis that it will also assist in alleviating the overcrowding in correctional facilities. Not entirely deal with it, because we still have other measures that we require to deal with them drastically to make sure there's no overcrowding in facilities, but it will assist. And also it will assist in issues of the strain of finances, since you would be aware that departments are facing budget cuts.
And it sounds like the right idea, but one wonders that, what took it so long? Because the problem here is that the number of inmates rising didn't happen overnight. So as the writings were on the wall and the numbers of inmates were increasing, and particularly the number of undocumented or illegal foreigners were increasing as well, shouldn't government at that point have come up with such ideas of inter-department collaboration, which seems like a no-brainer, that your departments would work with the Justice Cluster and particularly also with Home Affairs? Why has it taken so long to come up with this great idea?
I wouldn't speak for those who came before me, and I wouldn't know why it took them so long, but we currently now are the ones that are bringing this idea to society to engage on, including government to engage on it, including the security cluster portfolio committees to look at. So today, a good part had an engagement with the DG of Justice to see the possibility of this idea and how we can bring in the 2 departments to start engagement. So this is an idea that we're trying to peruse now and look at avenues on how to address it. But I can't speak about those who came before me. Why wasn't this idea spoken of and implemented? I wouldn't know what were their reasons. But I will speak for the current portfolio committee, which is the 7th administration, on other areas to assist the department to deal with overcrowding.
As it stands, are these departments working in silos?
Look, others they are working in silos. Others they are having interdepartmental cooperations. Like, for instance, I'll speak for SAPS and the department. They have a program, an interdepartmental committee to deal with smuggling of contrabands in facilities. So if you are found as an inmate who have smuggled the contraband, a cell phone, drugs, or any matter that relates to contraband, you are then going to be again, you're going to have a charge, which would be a further crime. So if you would be serving on robbery, then there will be an added crime on it, which you need to appear to court. You're going to be sentenced again. So if your sentencing was 3 years, with the further charges that the 2 departments are collaborating on, adds your sentence on top of it. So those are some of the interdepartmental cooperations that is happening. So I will not be able to speak for other department. And I know there was also Home Affairs and the Department of Correctional Service on inmates that do not have IDs. Because there is, once people get arrested, majority or most people, when they get arrested, they don't want to disclose their IDs, or they don't go and do IDs, so that they go and engage in multiple crimes, so that when they don't have an ID, they're unable to be linked to all those multiple crimes. Because if they're linked to all multiple crimes, then it means their sentence becomes more and harsher. So they prefer not to have an ID, so that you sentence them and incarcerate them on that crime you would have arrested them on. So there is a program that we also, as the portfolio committee, we have said, which was enrolling in the previous administration, in the 6th administration, we have now said to the department it must go back into that interdepartmental cooperation or idea between them and Home Affairs to make sure that all inmates that comes or incarcerated in facilities do get IDs, especially those who are qualifying to get IDs, except for illegal foreign nationals, because you can't give those, they're illegal in the country. But all South Africans that are incarcerated in facilities must be having a process of having IDs, so that those who have multiple can be linked and get further charges in that instance, so that we avoid an issue of Thabo Bester.
Yeah. So what happens to those who still don't want to disclose and give their IDs as well and are here illegally? What happens to those people?
Look, it's something that Home Affairs is looking into. So the National Commissioner advised that once they've decided, they have looked into those ideas of saying there will be those who are refusing to disclose their details to be able to have their IDs. What is it that we can do? What law would force them to have it? Because of another thing, you can't force someone who doesn't want to have an ID, but look at measures to make sure that they do. So it's something that they're working on. Once they're ready, then they'll present it in both the portfolio committees, Home Affairs and Correctional Service, and then we look at avenues to enrolling it throughout correctional facilities.
It seems that there are several loopholes that need to be fixed here as well, but also on the issue of building more correctional facilities to keep up with the growing number of inmates. Of course, as a nation, we also have to hopefully try to deal with the root cause of what leads people to crime to begin with. But in the interim, is our infrastructure keeping up with the rising number of inmates?
Not at all. If a correctional facility is designed to accommodate 4,000, there has been measures where the department will try to make sure that if it accommodates 4,000, at least it goes beyond accommodating 6,000 or 8,000 with extra beds in cells. So if block A has about 30 cells, they will push it to 50 to accommodate overcrowding. But there are new facilities, 2 new facilities that are being built. One, it's in the Beggersdorp in the Eastern Cape side of Aliwali, which it's ready for completion, but it will be operational in September to also try to mitigate the issue of overcrowding. There is another new facility that is 90% completed before this financial year. We're hoping it would be operational, which is in Paris. There is another facility in Brad's North West. It's not a new one. It had issues of infrastructure, so it was going through a major renovations. It should be complete as well within this new financial. It should be complete within this financial year before we go to the new one. So then placements will be done. But there are a number of factors or issues that deals with overcrowding. Infrastructure, yes, it's a bit of a problem because of public works must come in, but we have encouraged the department. It must use offender labor to deal with some minor infrastructural issues before they become big, because of public works takes time in some of the facilities. Some of the facilities that dilapidated badly because of public works takes time in doing its work, in making sure there is refurbishment, there is renovations, and so forth. So we have encouraged the department, if it's able, with offender labor as part of giving skills to inmates, they must use that. And so far, in some of the facilities that they've used offender labor, issues are quickly addressed. So we have encouraged them to draw up a program or a process that speaks to renovations, infrastructure issues, those minor little ones, outside being reliant to public works. But we still need to look at inmates that are unable to afford bail, as below as 500 rands or 100 rands. How do we deal with that matter?
Yeah.
We still need to look at avenues of state patients that are incarcerated in correctional facilities instead of mental health institutions.
Yeah.
So we need to deal with all those components without only dealing with foreign nationals. So foreign national population of inmate is another component but it's not isolated to all.
Yeah,
So
lots
really
and lots of issues to be dealt with in that
Yes.
department as well. Sorry to cut you off there. We have run out of time, but thank you so much for joining us. That is Kgomotso Ramolobeng, who is the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Correctional Services.